Hello, this is Ariella Carmel, and I'm at Tech Av's conference by Calcalist. I'm joined by Fiona Darmon, the founder of Sunvest Capital. Thank you for joining me, Fiona.
Thank you very much, Ariella.
So can you start off by telling me a bit about Sunvest?
So Sunvest Capital is a fund that I founded together with my partner, Merav Weinryb, and we are investing in Israeli funds, mainly through the secondary market, Israeli funds, Israeli companies, really believing in the strength and potential of Israeli tech.
Amazing. Now, when did you establish Sunvest Capital?
So we founded Sunvest Capital last year, really seeing the opportunity and the potential, let's say, of Israeli tech, but accessing it from a more broader standpoint.
And are there any particular sectors that you're focused on within tech?
No, I think the main focus really is on the robustness of the Israeli tech and the potential that it gives both local and international investors.
So we're in the middle of quite a difficult situation with the ongoing war and the broader economic situation predating that. Can you speak to me a little bit about how all of these factors have been impacting investment in the Israeli market?
Well, first of all, I do want to say from a personal standpoint that my heart and of everybody here in Israel is and remains with the families of the hostages and naturally the hostages themselves and the soldiers that are fighting on our fronts. It's been a very, very tough period. I think in general this has been something very dramatic in its overreaching impact, but I think what has and remains with this nation since its recent establishment is the robustness of the tech. You need to wake up in the morning with some feeling of wanting to keep yourself going. And I think the strength of Israeli tech has been something that not only plays a key role for everyone who's participating in this conference today, but in the entire economy as a whole. 2023 in general for Israeli tech was had this background of the legislative reform, and then we had the war. But I think what's very critical to understand as we sit and try to analyze it, it's not as isolated. There is an overall global shift in the financial markets. The high interest rates and many other factors have caused 2022 and to a large part 2023 internationally to also see influence and changing appetites, changing investment themes. But what I think is super critical to understand, and where Israel to a degree, and especially Israeli innovation, is a beacon, is we have always stood for amazing innovation, amazing tech. It's become the stomping ground for all the international players. You've got all these R&D centers here on the ground. You've got this ability to predict trends and act quickly. So I'd almost say that in spite of Israeli tech has and is continuing to stand out, and I think will be poised in a very, very strong starting point when the markets do rebound.
Okay. And so what are the main challenges going forward that the Israeli market is having to contend with?
Well, I think perception is slightly frayed these days. I think we're dealing with the role that the war is taking in global, perception. But I think that is to a degree background noise, because there is a massive digital transformation going on. It started and actually didn't start, but it's been accelerated with COVID. And now every single industry, every single category requires innovation, requires AI, requires the ability to predict, requires the ability to defend with cyber. And I think that unique ability of Israeli startups to kind of come together, bootstrap, innovate, and then raise the money and deliver is something that means that maybe now more than ever, that need to prove to everybody the resilience, the strength, only means that amidst all this climate, we will probably see an emergence of tremendous innovation from this cycle. And more than anything, because it's a very cost-sensitive mindset, the startup creation in Israel, you will also see them kind of breaking out the gate faster and with more ease when the markets start to rebound. There is a need for tech, there is a need for innovation, and there is a need for the amazing solutions that are coming out of here. And nothing happening here will stop that.
Now, I want to go back to international markets.
Yep.
Can you give me your analysis of what we have to look forward to in terms of trends in innovation and investment on a global scale?
Right, so we saw this massive boom worldwide of investing in 2019, 20, and it hit a massive peak in 2021. There was a tremendous inflow of capital into tech startups. We saw numerous high-profile IPOs in the international stage, and all of that came to I won't say a halt, but to a dramatic slowdown in 2022. You had inflation and you had the interest rate hikes. And I think that as a result, we really saw a lot of downsizing in startups. We saw a lot more attention paid to cost structures. We saw that the investments in startups declined worldwide, not just in Israel, really as investors were being more picky. In venture capital, which is really the fuel of tech investing, we saw also a decline internationally. I think you saw less generalist funds and more precision investing, as investors really were much more precise in what they were looking to access. And that took its toll on the international stage. You saw a lot of those high-flying companies and massive valuations right-size. That same trend came backwards here into Israel, naturally.
Right.
But this has been a global trend. I think as in all the cycles in history, and we saw this the post-2000, and we saw this post-2008 and 9, we really are seeing the right sizing is also meaning that the companies are much better structured in terms of their roadmap, a lot more focus on profitability, and really being ready for what we're assuming will be the beginning of the reversal and return to growth and let's say exits late 2024 and into 2025. Now, what's interesting here in Israel versus the international markets, it hasn't continued to be a market for buying companies. Just in the last few months, you've seen so many Israeli tech companies, the cyber specifically, being acquired. So you have the trend of the mainstream going full steam companies that will then list on the global markets and become standalone players. But you also have that tidying up or acquisitions of innovations that are super relevant for this timeline.
Okay. Well, on that hopefully optimistic note, we're going to close the conversation. But thank you so much for joining me, Fiona.
Thank you, Ariella. And thank you to everybody here at CTech and Calcalist.